Chapter 12, Fractal Library Q&A. Question 1. Why is it called the Fractal Library? Answer. Hello! Welcome to the Fractal Library. Since this is the very first question in our guest book, I'd like to use it as a chance to share the library's story. I've never been the type to settle down. Over the years, I did all sorts of jobs: mason, gardener, delivery driver, janitor, clerk, and more. One day, I, drawn in by the peculiar name of this library, pushed open its doors. Inside, it was deserted and coated in dust. Driven by curiosity, I took a book from the shelf and opened it. In that instant, a new universe unfolded before my eyes, and I fell in love with this place. While I was engrossed in reading, a telephone at the front desk rang, its chime echoing through the library's towering halls. For some reason, I approached the counter and answered the phone, as if beckoned by an unseen force. 10 minutes later, the call ended. I can't talk about what was discussed, but after that conversation, I became the library's administrator and finally understood why it's called the Fractal Library. Most of the books here are science fiction. Nearly every fictional universe inside them branches out after its own Big Bang and spawns countless worlds of infinite complexity. Yet their similarities are uncanny. The books themselves reflect this fractal nature, each with a sense of endless variety and overreaching similarity. They highlight recursion, chapters mirroring the entire book, paragraphs echoing the chapter's themes, sentences extending the paragraph's ideas. Multiple layers within their structure, like fractal patterns that reveal finer details, and non-linear complexity, interwoven narratives forming intricate dynamic patterns. Realizing this only made me love the library more. I've never met its actual owner, so sometimes I imagine what I'd do if I were in charge. Maybe I'd rename it. The word fractal is a bit abstract. I might call it the 1 decillionth library instead. Most of the books here are sci-fi, and every time I open a new one, it feels like I'm witnessing the birth of a universe. That instant of 1 decillion seconds when the cosmos explodes from a tiny singularity. It's a name you could explain in a single sentence, straightforward and easy to grasp. Still, whenever I imagine making that change, the phone rings again and reminds me that this place already belongs to someone else. Question 2. Why did you want to open this kind of library? Answer. First of all, I didn't open this library. It's always been here. I'm just a temporary administrator, but I can tell you why one phone call convinced me to stay, aside from the money. Change is the only constant in the world. As I said before, I used to wander from place to place and never stayed in one spot for long. Over time, I learned to love that freewheeling life until I stumbled upon this library. Here, I found everything I had seen and experienced. Even if I traveled across the entire globe, it wouldn't add up to a fraction of what's contained in these shelves. This place holds countless stories and infinite possibilities, from ancient times to modern days, and distant oceans to nearby mountains. Human imagination truly knows no bounds. Many ancient myths have become today's reality. Perhaps all the things we consider impossible now and the mysteries we haven't observed really exist somewhere. Maybe in the future, or maybe in another universe. I choose to believe in the worlds that you can find in those stories. Even if I spend my entire life reading, I'd only explore a tiny corner of this library. Yet this corner would still hold more wonders than I could ever encounter outside. As an administrator, I feel like my journey here has no end because I never know what awe-inspiring world awaits me each time I open a new book. There's another reason that's even more important. The more I read, the more I sense an unavoidable responsibility resting on my shoulders. I'm waiting for someone. I know an atheist will step through these doors one day. That person is the library's true owner. How do I know? Call it intuition. My curiosity refuses to let it go, so I need to see what kind of person would own a place like this. I'm certain that if I wait long enough, they'll appear before me. P.S. Dear readers, I hope you'll spare some time in this ever-changing world to read. Explore times and places beyond your experience and discover all that lies hidden within the pages. Question 3. Since there's an extensive collection, which book is the curator's favorite? Answer. First, let me say again that I'm not the curator, I'm just an administrator. Now, about your question, let me think. Choosing a favorite. This is tough. I can't pick one, but I can tell you about a story that really stuck with me. I still think about it even when I finished reading it a long time ago. It was set in a world obsessed with efficiency. People had no names, only numbers. Those in power genetically screened embryos and, based on the results, decided their entire lives, from what education they'd get, what work they'd do, whom they'd love and marry, and even the traits of their children. Everything was determined by genetics, and the talents bestowed by the gods were fully realized. Nature and nurture, when perfectly fused, left no room for debate. No matter where you looked, it seemed like flawless harmony. At first, the world seemed dazzlingly beautiful, and everyone believed this was exactly how the world should be. But the balance was shattered when a wealthy individual engineered a child without flaws. This child could adapt to anything, yet he revered nothing. He soared above every rule and sneered at order itself. Cracks in the system appeared, and where there are cracks, rebellion follows. But we all know that rebels in any universe are branded as traitors, and they are forever condemned in history. I encountered another world. It was nothing like that harmonious place I described before. By the time I looked at it, it was already on the brink of death. Everyone but him had fallen victim to a virus that stripped away the human form and humanity. It turned people into an energy that would perish along with the planet. It reminded me of cancer cells, once harmless symbiotes that entered a frenzy of endless replication until they destroyed their host and died with it. All of it done for the sake of immortality. To prevent this calamity from spreading elsewhere, he became that world's lone survivor. He had a single mission: eliminate every infected individual, root out every trace of this disease, and then guard those warm remains until they fully crumbled away. He waited for what felt like an eternity until all drifted into emptiness. He became a prisoner of time, the embodiment of loneliness, forever the last person. And in the end, as the final speck of that world turned to dust, he vanished too. Now that I think about it, the stories that truly stayed with me all seem to prove an old saying. Happy stories are the same, but unhappy stories each have their own kind of unhappiness. Once a story finds its perfect ending, it stops, and no one looks back. Imperfections, however, remain unforgettable. They echo without a response until the end of time. If these stories are someone's reality, if their worlds truly exist, or once did, could they have been just experimental playgrounds for some god's whim? Bits and pieces thrown together without a second thought, proportions guided by mood, one failure after another. Each would be more fleeting than a grain of sand and a flicker of light. Question 4. What's your ideal future, and what would your ideal world look like? Answer. It's interesting that you asked about an ideal future after we talked about books. Perhaps you noticed how most sci-fi stories tell the future as one imagined at the time they were written. From the perspective of the end of time, the future is just another piece of that universe. The universe isn't good or bad, it's simply a collection of stories following their own laws. If you understand those laws, you can see the final page. That's the theory anyway. But stories come from life, and reality is often stranger than fiction. Even though this place has shown me countless possibilities, how I spend each day is still up to me. We might be tiny on a cosmic scale, but within our own universes, we're everything. Even if we use knowledge to predict where the world might go, we can't be sure of our own futures. Maybe that uncertainty is what I find most ideal. I just noticed I'm humming a little tune. It's amazing how long I've been here. I've picked up habits from those around me. As for the ideal world, if I must respond, I suppose the utopia, as often mentioned in books, sounds appealing. It's a place where everyone can be who they want and live as they wish. But a world with nothing but light and no darkness is as stagnant as a dead pond. Such a place can never exist. Still, I hope everyone can become their own utopia. After all, there's no law against making a wish, right? People can wish whenever and wherever they please. And I'll write my sincere blessings for every reader here. To be continued. Hello? According to my calendar, it's not time yet. When the moment arrives, I'm sure he'll come looking for me. Almost there. Give me a break. We'll know the truth soon enough. And if he doesn't show up, well, we know exactly where to find him, right? By the way, how did that new book of yours turn out? When can I read it? Oh, it failed again? That's okay. The one I'm working on now is long, so there's still hope. Stop nagging me. Okay. If he doesn't appear, I'll find him myself. I have to get back to work. I'm in Lincoln City now, so I have to stick to the schedule here. Bye! After hanging up, I notice the clock above the door says it's 10 a.m. No one manages time as precisely as that caller. I draw back the curtains, open the door, and breathe in the scent wafting in from the cafe next door. Standing outside, I stretch and order my morning treat, a 100% sugar, sea salt cheese latte with double whipped cream and chocolate drizzle. It's a sweet dopamine rush to kick off a lovely day. A child, perhaps 7 or 8, stops at my doorway and peeks inside, but he doesn't enter. Do you want to come in and look around? The child glances hesitantly at the sign on the doorframe. I realize my mistake and flip the close sign. He follows me into the library, opens the guest book by the counter, reads a few lines, and then scans the room while being puzzled. He soon meets my gaze. A library? But most of these things don't look like books. What a perceptive kid! That's another reason for me to love this place. You're right. A lot of the things here aren't what you'd call books, but let's call them books for the sake of convenience. Can I check out the things that don't look like books too? Of course! When you want to read them, they'll take on a form that's easy for you to understand. Books are the ideal medium, but if you prefer cartoons, that works too. Oh wow, that's amazing! As the child loses himself in this new discovery, I lean against the doorframe and watch the busy street. If each book holds a tiny world, and everyone who enters a library seeks some kind of answer, then I hope you find your own singularity in this little library, your personal starting point, your own universe. I might not meet your expectations, but I'll still say the following with sincerity. Hello, Welcome to the Fractal Library.